Shadowkiss, Chapter 11. We stepped off the plane and were immediately hit with wet, blustery weather. Sleet cracked into us, far worse than the flaky white stuff falling back in Montana. We were on the east coast now, or well, close to it. The Queen's Court was in Peninsula, near the Pocone Mountains, a range I had only a vague idea about. I know we were not too close to any major cities like Philo Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, which were the only ones I know in the state. The runway we could land on was part of the court's property, so we were already behind Watts. It was just like the academic small landing strip. In fact, in many ways, the Royal Court was laid out exactly like the school. It was what they told humans the compound was actually. The court was a collection of buildings, beautiful and ornate, spreading across well-trained grounds, abounded with trees and flowers. At least the land could be abounded with them when spring came. Just like in Montana, the vegetation was bleak and leafless. We were met up by a group of 5 guardians, all dressed in black pants and matching coats, with white shirts underneath. They were not uniform exactly, but costume usually detected that for formal occasions, guardians wear some sort of nice ensembles. By comparison, in our jeans and t-shirt, our group looked like somebody's poor relationships. Yet, I could not help but think we could be a lot more comfortable if it came to a fight with Strigoi. The Guardians knew Alberta and Trimet. Honestly, those two knew everybody, and after some formalities, everyone relaxed and became friendly. We were all eager to get in and out of the cold, and our escorts lead us towards the buildings. I knew enough about the code to know that the largest and the more elaborate of the buildings was there. All officials' Morai business was conducted. It resembled some sort of Gothic places on the outside, but inside, I suspected it probably looked like any set of modern government offices you could find among humans. We were not taken there, however. We were led to an adjacent building, just as exiguous on the outside, but half the size. One of the guardians explained that this was where all the guests and dignitaries traveling in and out of the court stayed. To my surprise, we each got our own room. Eve started to protest this, adamant, saying he needed to stay with Lisa. Drummond smiled and told him it was not necessary. In a place like this, guardians don't need to stay as close to the Mora. In fact, they often separated to their own things. The court was as heavily guarded as the academic, and really, Mora visitors at the academic were rarely trailed so closely, but their guardians either. It was only for the sake of the field experience that it was being done with us. Eid agreed with some reluctance, and again I was amazed at his dedication. Alberta spoke briefly and then turned to the rest of us. Decompose for a bit and be ready for the dinner in 4 hours. Lisa, the Queen wants to see you in an hour. A jolt of surprise ran through Lisa, and she and I exchanged brief puzzled looks. The last time Lisa had seen the Queen, Titan has snubbed her and embarrassed her in front of the school for having running away with me. Both of us wondered what she could want to see Lisa about now. Sure, said Lisa. Rose and I will be ready. Alberta shook her head. Rose is not going. The Queen specifically asked for you alone. Of course she had. What interest could the Queen have in Vencesla Dragmaroy's shadow? A nasty voice whispered in my head. Expandable, expandable. The dark sentiments startled me, and I shoved it aside. I went to my room, relieved to see it had a TV. The thought of waking for the next 4 hours sounded fantastic. The rest of the room was pretty fancy, very modern looking with sleek black tables and white leather furniture. I was kind of afraid to sit on it. Ironically, despite how nice it was all, the place was not decked out as a sky resort that we could stay in over the holidays. I guess when you come to the Royal Court, you come for business, not a vacation. I had just sprawled on the leather couch and turned on the TV when I felt Lisa in my mind. Come, talk, she said. I sat up, surprised by the message itself and the content. Usually, our bond was all about feelings and impressions. Specific requests like this were rare. I got up and left the room, going to the one next door. Lisa opened the door. What? You could not have come to me? I asked. Sorry, she said, looking like she genuinely meant it. It was hard to the grouchy around someone so nice. I just don't have the time. I'm trying to decide what to wear. Her suitcase was already open on the bed, with things hung up in the closest. Unlike me, she could come prepared for every occasion, formal and casual alike. I lay down on the couch. Hers was plush velvet, not leather. Wear the print blouse with the black slacks. I told her, not a dress. Why not a dress? Because you don't want to look like you're growling. This is the queen, Rose. Dress up is showing respect, not growling. If you say so. But Lisa wore the outfit I suggested anyway. She talked to me as she finished getting ready, and I watched with envy as she applied makeup. I had not realized how much I missed cosmetics myself. When she and I had lived with the humans, I could be pretty defiant about a primary primping every day. Now, there never seems to be enough time or any reason. I was always in some kind of suffy that made makeup pointless and ruined it anyway. The most I could do was to slather my face with moisturizer. It seemed expensive in the morning, like I was putting on a mask. Yet, by the time I faced the cold weather and other harsh conditions, I was always surprised to see my skin had sucked all the moisture up. The smallest pang of the regret shot through me that I could rarely have any opportunities to do this for the rest of my life. Lisa could spend most of her days dressed up out of royal functions. No one could notice me. It was weird considering that until this last year I could always be one who was always noticed. Why do you think she wants to see me? Lisa asked. Maybe to explain why we are here? Maybe. Uneasy, full Lisa, despite her calm exterior, she still had not entirely recovered from the Queen's brutal humiliation last fall. My own pretty jealous and moping suddenly seems stupid when compared with what she had to go through. I mentally slapped myself, reminding myself that I was not just her unseen guardian, I was also her best friend, and we had talked very much lately. We have not talked very much lately. You have nothing to afraid of, Liz. You have not done anything wrong, and really you have been doing everything right. Your grades are perfect, your behavior perfect. Remember all the people you impressed on the sky trip? That bitch has nothing to get to you on about. You should not say that, said Lisa automatically. She applied mascara to her eyelashes, studied them, and then added another coat. Just call them like I see them. If she gives you any brief, then it is just going to be because she is afraid of you. Lisa laughed. Why could she be afraid of me? Because people are drawn to you, and people like her don't like it when others steals all the attention. I was a bit astonished at how wise I sounded. Plus, you're the last drug Morai. You're always going to be in the spotlight. Who is she? Just another Ashwa? There are a ton of them. Probably because all the guys are like Adrian and have all sorts of illegitimate children. Adrian does not have any children that we know of, I said mysteriously. She snickered and stepped back from the mirror, pleased with her face. Why are you always so mean to Adrian? I gave her a look of mock astonishment. You're standing up for Adrian now? Whatever happened to you warning me to stay away from him? You practically bit my head off the first time I hung out with him, and that was not even by my choice. She took a thin golden chain out of her suitcase and tried to fasten it around her neck. Well, yeah, I don't really know him then. He is not so bad, and it is true. I mean, he is not a great role model or anything, but I also think some of those stories about him and other girls are exaggerated. I don't. I said, jumping up. She still had not managed to fasten the chain, so I took it and put the clasps together on for her. Thanks, she said, running her hands over the necklace. I think Adrian really likes you, like in a wanting to be serious way. I shook my head and stepped back. No, he likes me in a wanting to be get the clothes off the cute temper way. I don't believe that. That is because you believe the best about everyone. She looked skeptical as she began brushing her hair smooth over her shoulders. I don't know about that either, but I do think he is not as bad as you think. I know it has not been that long since Manson, but you should think about going out with someone else. Wear your hair up. I handed her a brandy from her suitcase. Manson and I were never really going out. You know that. Yeah, well, I guess that is more reason to start thinking about dating someone. High school's not over yet. Seems like you should be doing something fun. It was ironic. Months ago, I have argued with roommate about how it was not fair that as a guardian in training, I had to watch my reputation and not act too crazy. He agreed it was not fair that I could not do the things of kinds of things other girls my age could, but that was the price I paid for my future. I had been upset, but after Victor's meddling, I started to see Drummond's points to such an extent that he could actually hinted I should not try to limit myself that much. Now, after Spokane, I felt like a completely different girl from the one who talked to Drummond last fall about having fun. I was only a couple months from Guardian graduation. High school things. Da- Dance, boyfriends, what did they matter in the grand scheme of things? Everything at the academic seems to be trivial unless it was making me a better guardian. I don't really think I need a boyfriend to complete my high school experience. I told her, I don't think you do either. She agreed, tugging her ponytail straight. But you used to flirt and got out sometimes. I feel like it could be just be nice for you to do a little of that. It is not like you could have to anything serious with Adrian. Well, you won't get any arguments from him on that. I think the last thing he wants is anything serious. That is the problem. Well, according to some of the stories, he is very serious. I heard the other day that you were engaged. Someone else said that he's been disowned because he told his dad he could never love anyone else. Ah. There was really no other adequate response to all these silly rumors. The creepy thing is that the same stories are all over the place at the elementary campus too. I started the ceiling. Why does this stuff keep happening to me? She walked over to the couch and looked down at me because you're awesome and everyone loves you. Nah, you're the one everyone loves. Well, then I guess we are both awesome and lovable. And one of these days, a mischievous spark danced in our eyes. We will find a guy you love back. Don't hold your breath. None of that matters. Not right now. You're the one I could go to worry about. We are going to graduate and you will go off to college and I will be great. No more rules, just us on our own. It is a little scary, she mused, thinking about being on my own. But you'll be with me and remit too, she signed. I cannot imagine not having you around. I cannot even really remember when you're not around. I sat up and gave her a light punch in her arm. Hey, be careful. You're going to make Christian jealous. Oh crap, I suppose he is going to be around too, huh? No matter where we end up going. Probably you, me, him, Dremet, and any guardians Christian gets. One big happy family. I scoffed, but inside of me there was a warm, fuzzy feeling building. Things were crazy in our world right now, but I had these great people in my life. As long as we are all together, everything could be okay. She looked at the clock and her fear returned. I have got to go. Will you go with me? You know, I cannot. I know, not in body, but like, will you do that thing where you are watching in my head? It will make me feel like I'm not alone. It was the first time Lisa had ever asked me to purposefully do that. Normally, she hated the thought of me seeing through her eyes. It was a sign of her nervousness. She really was. Sure, I said. It is probably better than anything on TV anyway. I returned to my own room, taking up in an identical position of the couch, clearing my thoughts. I opened myself to Lisa's mind, going beyond simply knowing her feelings. It was something the Shadowkiss bond allowed me to do and was the most intense part of our connection. It was not just feeling her thoughts, it was actually being inside of her, looking through her eyes, and sharing her experience. I could learn to control it only recently. I used to slip in without wanting to, much as I sometimes could not keep her feelings out. I could control my out of body experience now and even summon up the phenomenon at will, just like I was about to do. Lisa had just reached the period the queen was waiting in. Morai might use terms like royal and even kneel sometimes, but there are no thrones or anything like that there. Titan sat in an ordinary armchair, dressed in a navy blue skirt and blazers, looking more like a corporate businesswoman than any sort of monarch. She was not alone either. A tall, stately Morai, whose blonde hair was laced with silver, sat near her. I recognized her. Priscilla Vora, the queen's friend and advisor. We have met her on the sky trip, and she could be impressed with Lisa. I told her presence as a good sign. I took her presence as a good sign. Silent guardians, dressed in black and white, stood along the wall. To my astonishment, Adrian was there too. He reclined on a small love seat, seeming completely obvious to the fact that he was hanging out with the Morai ultimate leader. The guardian, with Lisa, announced her, Princess Vasila Dragamorai. Titan nodded in acknowledgement. Welcome, Vasilisa. Please sit down. Lisa sat down near Adrian. Her apprehension growing up leaps and bounds. A Morai servant came up and offered tea or coffee, but Lisa declined. Titan, meanwhile, slipped from a teacup and scratched Lisa from head to toe. Priscilla Voda broke the awkward silence. Remember what I said about her? Priscilla asked cheerfully. She was very impressive at our state dinner in Idaho. Settled a huge spat over Mora fighting with guardians. She even managed to calm Arden's father down. A frosty smile crossed Titan's cold features. That is impressive half the time. I still feel like Nathan is 12 years old. Me too, said Adrian, drinking from a wine glass. Titan ignored him and again focused on Lisa. Everyone seems impressed with you. Really, I hear nothing but good things about you, in spite of your past transgenderism, which I am given to understand were not entirely without this reason. Lisa's look up of surprise actually made the queen laugh. There was not much warmth or humor in the laugh, though. Yes, I know all about your powers, and of course, I know what happened with Victor. Adrian's been filling me in about the spirit as well. It is so strange. Tell me, can you? She glanced to a nearby table. A flower spot spat on it. Dark green shoots sticking through the soil. It was some kind of bulb based plant that someone was growing indoors, like the outside counterparts. It was waiting for spring. Lisa hesitated. Using her powers in front of others was a strange thing for her, but Titan was watching expectantly. After only a few moments more, Lisa leaned over and touched the shoots. The stem shot up through the dirt, growing taller, almost a foot high. Huge pods formed along the sides as it grew, bursting open to reveal fragments with flowers. Easter lilies. Lisa withdrew her hands. Wonder shone on Titan's face, and she muttered something in a language I don't understand. She had not been born in the United States, but had chosen to hold her court here. She spoke with no accent, but as they did for Dremet. Moments of surprise apparently brought out her native tongue. Within seconds, she put her scaly mask back on. Interesting, she said. Talk about an understatement. It could be very useful, said Puzika. Vasilisa and Adrian cannot be the only two out there with it. If we could find others, so much could be learned. The healing itself is a gift, let alone anything else they can conjure. Just think what we could do with it. Lisa turned optimistic. For a while, she could be going out of her way to find others like her. Adrian had been the only one she could discover, and that had been through sheer luck. If the Queen and the Morai Council put their resources into it, there was no telling what they might find. Yet, something about Priscilla's words troubled Lisa. Begging your pardon, Princess Vora, I'm not sure we should be so eager to use my others' healing powers as much as you might want to. Why not? Asked Titan. From what I understand, you can heal almost anything. I can, she said Lisa slowly. And I want to. I wish I could help everybody, but I cannot. I mean, don't get me wrong, I will definitely help some people, but I know we could run into people like Victor who want to abuse it, and after a while, I mean, how do you choose who gets to live? Part of life is that, well, some people have to die. My powers are not a prescription you can get filled as needed. And honestly, I'm afraid they could only be used for certain kinds of things, just like a guardians are. A slight tension built in the room. What Lisa had insulated was rarely every mentioned in public. What are you talking about? Asked Titan with narrow eyes. I could feel she already knew. Lisa was scared to say next words, but she did it anyway. Everyone knows that there is a certain method to how guardians are disturbed. Only the elite get them. Royals, rich people, people in power. A chill fell over the room. Titan's mouth settled into a straight line. She don't speak for several moments, and I had a feeling everyone else was holding their breaths. I certainly was. You don't think our royals deserve special attention? She asked finally. You don't think you do? The last of the Dragmorai? I think keeping our leaders safe is important, yeah. But I also think we need to stop sometimes and look at what we are doing. It could be time to reconsider the way we will always done things. Lisa sounded so wise and so self assured. I was proud of her. Watching Priscilla Vora, I could see that she was proud too. She could like Lisa from the beginning, but I could also see that Priscilla was nervous. She answered the queen and knew that Lisa is swimming in dangerous waters. Titan sipped her tea. I think it was an excuse to gather her thoughts. I understand, she said, that you're also in favor of Mora fighting with the Guardians and attacking Strigoi. Another dangerous topic, one Lisa pushed forward into. I think if there are Morai who want to, they should not be denied the chance. Jill suddenly popped into my head. Morai lives are precious, said the queen. They should not be risked. Dampier's lives are precious too. Lisa countered. If they fight with Morai, it could be, it could save everybody. And again, if Morai are willing, why do you need them? They deserve to know how to defend themselves. And people like Tasha Ozira have developed ways of fighting with magic. The mention of Christian's aunt brought a frown to the queen's face. Tasha had been attacked by Strigoi when younger and had spent the rest of her life learning to fight back. Tasha Ozira, she is a troublemaker. She is starting to gather a lot of other troublemakers. She is trying to introduce new ideas. I noticed then that Lisa was not afraid any longer. She was confident in her beliefs and wanted them expressed. Throughout history, people with new ideas who think differently and try to change things have always been called troublemakers. But seriously, do you want the truth? A weary look crossed Titan's face, almost a smile. Always. We need change. I mean, our traditions are important. We should not give up those. But sometimes I think we are misguided. Misguided? As time goes on, We are gone along with other changes. We have evolved computers, electricity, technology in general. We all agreed those makes our lives better. Why cannot we be the same in the way we act? Why are we still clinging to the past when there are better ways to do things? Lisa was breathless, worked up, and excited. Her cheeks felt warm and her heart raced. All of us were watching Titan, searching for any clue in that stony face. You are very interesting to talk to, she finally said. She made interesting sound like a dirty word. But I have things I must do now. She stood up and everyone hastily followed suit, even Arden. I won't be joining you for dinner, but you and your companions will be having everything you need. I will see you tomorrow at the trial, no matter how radical and navy ideological your ideas are. I'm glad you will be there to complete his sentencing. His imprisonment, at least, is something we can all agree on. Titan swept out, two guardians immediately following. Priscilla followed too, leaving Lisa and Adrian alone. Well then, cousin, are not many people who can throw the old lady off balance like that. She don't seems very off balance. Oh, she was. Believe me, most of the people she deals with every day could not talk to her like that, let alone someone your age. He stood up and extended a hand to Lisa. Come on, I will show you around this place. Take your mind off things. I have been there before, she said, when I was younger. Yeah, well, the things we got to see when we are younger are different than the things we get to see when we are older. Did you know there is 24-hour bar in there? We will get you a drink. I don't want a drink. You will before this trip over. I felt Lisa head and returned to my room. The meeting with the Queen was over, and Lisa don't need my unseen support. Besides, I really don't want to hang out with Adrian right now. Sitting up, I discovered I felt surprisingly alert. Being in her head had kind of feeling like taking a nap. I decided to do a little exploring of my own. I have never been to a royal court. It is really was supposed to be like a mini town, and I wonder what are other things that were to see aside from the bar that Adrian probably lived in while visiting. I headed downstairs, figuring I could have to go outside. As far as I know, this building only held guest rooms. I was kind of like that Plaza's hotel. When I got to the entryway, however, I saw Christian and Eid standing and talking with someone I could not see. Eid, ever vigilant, Sammy, ungrounded. Hey, Rose, look who we found. As I approached, Christian stepped aside, revealing the mysterious person. I came to halt and she grinned at me. Hi, Rose. A moment later, I felt a smile creep over my face. Hello, Mia.